Our first talk tonight is from our chair-elect of the National Catholic Committee on Scouting. His first name is Bill, and I'm not going to try. I still, even with my last name, I still struggle with pronouncing his properly. So let's invite Bill up, and he's going to tell you what has transpired since the biennial meeting in Albuquerque and what his future plans are for the next 3 years, because that's his term of service as chairman.
Before I get started, my name is Bill, and my last name is Guglielmi, which means Williams in Italian. So my name in English is William Williams, and in Italian it's Guglielmo Guglielmi. But you'll find Italian Americans say it Guglielmi, not Guglielmi. And so I drift between the two of it. And before I get started more seriously, I see we have a Sea Scout leader in here. He's going to point out that he's probably noticed already that I'm out of uniform because I'm wearing my Sea Badge thing on the wrong place. But NCCS makes these name tags so big, there's no way it'll fit where it belongs.
It won't go in my report.
Okay, just don't tell Ben Farrell. Just don't tell Ben Farrell that I was out of uniform, because he gets on me all the time about it. I live in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, but if you look at the uniform I'm wearing, it's from Florida. We moved to Carlisle last February after 27 years in Florida. We did it for family reasons, to be close to all our families. And Carlisle was the perfect location because it's 2 hours between all of them. And so they have to plan to come and see us. And my children have to give me fair warning if they need us to come down and stay with the grandchildren. We will always go, but we need to have fair warning. So they can't pick up the phone and say, can you be here in an hour? Just can't do it. But I stayed registered in Florida because the president of the council and the scout exec of the council asked me to stay there. I said, well, I can't get down for meetings. And he said, Bill, we live in the 21st century. We have Zoom meetings, so stay on my board. And so I did so. And so every quarter, I get on a Zoom meeting. But I'm on a properties committee, so we're on a Zoom meeting every month anyway. I'm going to be a little serious. I have a tendency to joke around. John Rebar can tell you that. Father Overton can tell you that too. But we're here on serious business here tonight, and I take what we do very seriously. And I want to start by thanking each of you for doing what you do, because Catholic Scouting would not exist without volunteers like you all. And we don't say thank you enough in Scouting, either on the Catholic side or or as I call it, regular Scouting. If you've been around for the 30-some years that I have been around, the people who say thank you are few and far between. They will once in a while put something on your uniform and things like that, don't get me wrong. But, it's your time and treasure that make the program possible. They asked me to spend a few minutes with you and talk about what Jim said I was going to talk about. I would like to start with a brief discussion. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence in here, but I want to tell you what the National Catholic Committee on Scouting is and what it isn't, because there still can be confusion as to what we really are. And you'll hear me, I'll jump between, well, no, I won't jump. It'll be NCCS, because the name of the organization is pretty long. First and foremost, we're a church committee. And we are also now a registered 501(c) corporation. That happened about 2 years ago. We found that with the assets we have, that our officers and directors could not get insurance without being incorporated. So the USCCB gave us permission to incorporate as a 501(c)(3). The organization is made up at the national level of clergy and lay individuals who promote, this is our mission statement, the constructive use of the programs now of Scouting America as a viable form of youth ministry. We're related to the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, I believe it is, USCCB, through our Episcopal liaison. And he is Bishop Michael Fisher of the Diocese of Buffalo. And he's had a lot of snow this year. And he's a Baltimore-raised person, so he's had a life-changing experience. He was an auxiliary bishop in Washington, D.C. He's appointed as our Episcopal liaison by the chair of the USCCB. We are also an advisory committee to the Boy Scouts of America, which is still the corporate name. So you hear me jump between that. You know, I'm an old guy. It's hard for me to, but I will tell you, the Scouting America, if you have not been told, there's no initials for that. And you can probably figure out why, if you look at what the initials might be. And all of our members at the national level have to be members of Scouting America and have to be Catholic, or have to, if they're not Catholic, subscribe to Catholic teaching in their scouting roles. And we are guided by the secretary at the USCCB's Secretariat of Laity, Marriage, Family Life, and now I think it's and Youth. They keep changing their names up there about the change of every president or chief bishop that they have. But anyway, and we work closely with other national Catholic organizations that have missions similar to ours. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Because we are first and foremost a church committee and not a Scouting America organization, our efforts for the past few years have been guided by the principle of Catholic life, and we've started a lot of initiatives in that regard so that we can become increasingly visible at the highest levels of the American church. And that being said, we don't forget what our advisory role is in Scouting America. Our leadership, the chair, the national chaplain, the chair-elect, no, not the chair-elect, but I do sit on the committee anyway, but by our bylaws, and the immediate past chair and the immediate past national chaplain sit on the Scouting America's Religious Relationships Committee. They expanded their membership a little bit and asked that me as the chair-elect and the associate national chaplain sit on that task force as well. So we do. And we are active with that committee of promoting duty to God and reverence within Scouting America. We're active participants at the Duty to God breakfast at every annual meeting of the Scouting America. In fact, Bishop Fisher was a keynote speaker at last year's breakfast. And we always have a large presence at the national jamborees and at world jamborees that are held in the United States. And in fact, at the last national jamboree, Catholic scouts and scout leaders were the single greatest group in attendance at the jamboree. Because unlike on the Scouting BSA applications to attend a jamboree ask what your religious preference is. And at that Sunday Mass where the Papal Nuncio, Cardinal Pierre Christophe, presided at the Mass, there was between 3,200 and probably 3,700 people who attended the Mass, to include the previous Chief Scout Executive and the current chaplain, yeah, all the chaplains were there. No, the current chairman of the Boy of Scouting America. And, well, our participation at the higher levels of Scouting America aren't restricted to just those kind of activities. The immediate past Chief Scout Executive attended our meeting a couple of years ago. And last year, the chairman of the Boy Scouts of America visited our meeting, spoke to the entire assembly, and took questions for a very long time. The current Chief Scout Executive, who's named Roger Crone, will be at our assembly in April. We view duty to God and reverence as critical components of the Scouting America program, and we never cease to express that every opportunity we have to talk to the leadership of the Boy Scouts. I can happy to report to you that either John Anthony, Father Gerard Gentleman, or myself, or Father Mark Carr, have been told by the current Chief Scout Executive and the current chairman of Scouting America that there is no movement to lessen duty to God or reverence in the program of Scouting America. But we're always on guard because I am an old soldier and I have mistrust at times of authority. But in all seriousness, I'm happy to say that that is not, there aren't any current undercurrents. Excuse me, I cough every time after I eat. I don't have a cold. It was a real pain in the butt during COVID because I would eat something and start coughing and everybody would say, "Why are you out?" But it's a hereditary thing. It's something in the genetic makeup. Lastly, we are also involved in the international conference, the International Catholic Conference of Scouting. You know, none of us can have these same names. You know, they're all different. And one of our own, Mr. Phil Krajak, who some of you know, was just elected this year to be the Secretary General of that organization for a 3-year term. I was president and was able to vote for him at their conference, which was held in Cairo, Egypt, which was a real unique experience. And they have a program that they are launching because secularization is a real issue in Europe. And so they have put together a program that we are supporting financially to train 100 young people to be Catholic scouting ambassadors to their home scouting associations, to take the Catholic method You know, scouting in Europe is different than it is here in America. There are Catholic Scouts organizations, there are secular organizations, there are Jewish organizations, the Protestant organizations, and in a particular country, they all form a federation so they could be represented at the international level. But even in some of the Catholic organizations, especially in the Nordic countries, there's a movement to move towards spirituality as opposed to faith. And the ICCS has recognized that, and we have, the executive committee yesterday voted to recommend to our executive board that we financially participate. I never put anything on a ballot before I count the votes. So we're going to, in April, it will pass the executive board and we'll financially participate in it. In the United States, we've been deeply involved over the past few years in growing relationships with Catholic organizations that share our mission to youth. It began with our participation in, as a partner of the National Federation of Catholic Youth Ministers, under Jim Weiskircher's reign as the chair. John Anthony has spread that to the National Catholic Education Association, to LARED, to a couple of other Catholic organizations as well. I was lucky enough in the last 3 years to participate in the NFCYM's annual meeting. I was just in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago participating in that. And they call it the Exchange now. They have a name for it. And I spent 2 days in Washington, D.C. last week at the National Catholic Education Association's meeting of their partners, advisory board. We also had a large participation in the Eucharistic Revival, and we are deeply engaged in the bishop's efforts, which they call the Youth Protection Conference. They have a Youth Protection Conference, which will coincide with the BSA national meeting. But their conference will be in St. Petersburg. We'll be in Orlando for that meeting, but we're sending representatives again to them because we took Scouting's program last year, John Anthony took all the information from Scouting handbooks and showed it to this committee as an example of a right way to do it. And lastly, we've agreed to take a principal role in the USCCB's pastoral framework effort in support of the Bishop's Listen, Teach, Send initiative for ministries to youth and young adults. Now, I'm going to read this because this is what the bishops have said the purpose of this program is. This framework is intended for Catholic pastors, pastoral leaders, and families to be the source of inspiration and motivation for engaging and accompanying youth and young adults that will, the bishops hope, be a catalyst for ministerial growth and investment in young people. If you come to our meeting in April, or if you don't come, you're going to hear more about this initiative and our participation in it because they are having regional type sessions across the country, and NCCS is going to be active participants in those regional sessions. And we've been asked by the USCCB to make sure that we get the word out to Catholic Scout leaders that they are not only welcome, but encouraged to attend those sessions. There's going to be sessions in Philadelphia, Atlanta, Indianapolis, Denver, and this year, and they're looking to do some next year as well. And we will have NCCS representation, but we will also engage Catholic Scouters that are within a reasonable traveling distance to get there. More to come on that. The USCCB is putting their framework together, and Father Gerard is putting our participatory framework together. So we all sing from the same hymnal when various ones of us go out to represent NCCS at these events. We've had positive results from each of these initiatives that we've taken with other organizations. And it has gotten us, I hate to be I don't hate to be as frank as I am. John will tell you that. I am a frank individual. I can be politically correct, but I don't like to pull punches. We've gained some positive outcomes from our relationships with these organizations. And people at the USCCB, to include bishops, have seen what we can do and how we do it as a result of these involvements. And in fact, John Anthony got a letter from Bishop Barron, who was then the chair, and I think he's chair until the meeting, their small meeting that comes up in the summertime, of the Secretariat on Laity, Marriage, Family Life, and Youth. And we were told by our counterparts and our sources at USCCB that Bishop Barron wrote this note himself. And the pertinent lines, from my standpoint, are that, I quote, "To me, this indicates that our collaborative efforts at USCCB and NCCS are heading in the right direction. It also points to the fact that the Holy Spirit is actively working, in particular, among the young people, pastoral leaders, and families with whom we work and serve." And I was telling Father Overton, and I'm sorry, Father, I forget your last name. It takes me about 2 years to get it. That we have turned a corner as a result of all these efforts, and as a result of efforts on the ground from people like you. Since Scouting BSA, or Scouting America today, is out of bankruptcy, we've had some dioceses who ceased chartering units, returning to chartering units, to include the Archdiocese of New York. Now, there's a long way to go, because there are issues that are outside of the bankruptcy that we have to address to assure bishops that we are Catholic Scouting, and that the programs that we are affiliated with operate under Catholic and not some other auspices. That's the big picture. I hope you have seen that we're trying to improve internal communications. We've hired a firm, St. Pio Media, from Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, and we don't have to go up there to do business with them. We do it all via Zoom. And they have improved our websites. Well, they created a new website called CatholicScouting.com, which is, I call it outward facing. It's for parents who are interested in Catholic Scouting, parish leaders who are interested in Catholic Scouting, and kids who are interested in Catholic Scouting, to find out information of where to go and do things. They've totally revamped our internal website to where it's not yet perfect, but at least if you want to know what my phone number is or my email address, it doesn't take 45 clicks. It only takes about 4. We're getting there. And I think the most important thing that they've achieved, other than designing the stuff that you see here and a lot of other stuff, is that they've created this Catholic Scouting Wire, which goes out once a month, that anybody who's interested in Catholic Scouting can receive. How many are getting that? Oh, geez, great news. Because I know a lot of people are getting it, because I use that to ask for people to volunteer at the national meeting of the Boy Scouts and at the National Jamboree that are coming up in 2026. And guess what? People are actually responding to me, so they are reading. Our click rate, St. Pio tells us, far exceeds that of any other Catholic organization and most other newsletter type things that are put out. We want to keep it current, brief, and useful information to folks like you. We should know the information at the level that I act in. The other thing we're trying to do is improve our conferences at the national level. You will see that John Anthony changed the name of the biennial conference and then the whatever other council conference it was, because they all kind of blended. And he's now calls them a membership assembly. We have to formalize that. I've got a bylaw change that I've been working on to do that. But we want the conference to be someplace where people want to go to. It does no good to have a conference anywhere if people don't attend, or if it's the same 100 people that attend every year. So we are looking, and this is some of the things that's going to happen in the future, we're looking to offer training like scouting in the local church as part of our annual conference. Stuff like chartered organizational rep training for Catholic organizations at our conferences and stuff like that. And we've moved from my first one that I attended, where the Committee on Emblems that I was about to become chair of met for 6 hours a day for 4 days, reading every line of the draft Pius XII book, to meetings where the chief scout executive can come, or the chairman of the Boy Scouts can come and talk to the people who are there and answer questions that are important to them. This year, in addition to the Roger Crone coming, our point person from the USCCB is going to be there to talk about listen, teach, and send. I make a pledge to you that we're going to continue to do that in the future. We're not going back to what we did 6 years ago, 10 years ago, or 30 years ago. That takes time. That's hard to change. We also are trying to keep the costs down. We're going to Wichita. It's in Charlotte this year. We're going to Wichita, one, because it's a pretty easy airport to get to, and two, the hotel rates are still within reason. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to find hotels that can provide the stuff we need, yet keep the rate down. So I'm commissioning a task force in our advisory committee to scout alternate locations in the future. Since we're a corporation, we have to have an annual general membership meeting anyway. It's Wisconsin law. That's where we're incorporated. We have to do it. But we are going to move, and we are moving and going to continue to move, to have executive committee meetings when they are needed via Zoom, Teams, or something like that. Our advisory board is going to meet more than once a year via Zoom. And our committees are going to be real committees and not just the chair and a clergy advisor. And under my tenure are going to meet via Zoom and report out to me what they accomplished in their meetings. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. That makes my life easier. I made a pledge after I was elected chair-elect that I would not, it was not my intention to be the last chair of the National Catholic Committee on Scouting. And through no efforts of my own, I think we've turned that corner, and I will not be the last chair. But that's what we're looking at for the future. Let's see, I want to make sure I get these points out because, you know, John Rebar is going to tell on me if I don't get these points out. John and I are old friends, but trust but verify.
What goes on at these meetings stays.
I think that we're also revamping some of our internal business processes. I kid you not. As our current bylaws are written, if we want a bylaw change, it has to be voted on by the executive board at the biennial meetings every 2 years, and then go out to the membership to be voted on. And until a couple of years ago, that vote couldn't be electronic means. It had to be letters sent and returned with a return rate of about 10%. That's changed. The bylaw changes that I am going to not give up on are going to make it clear that the executive board is going to meet every year. And if it has to meet at other times between the year to accomplish business, that it's going to do it via electronic means. Our executive committee does that now, and there's no reason our executive board doesn't have to. I stand today saying that these internal efforts are going to take time. You know, the NCCS is bigger than an aircraft carrier. And to make changes in it is like changing the direction of an aircraft carrier, but much slower. But I am like Don Quixote. I am not afraid of challenging windmills. And I will hit that windmill until it comes down. Like I say, I don't put anything to a vote unless I've counted the votes beforehand. But we're going to make those changes. But in all seriousness now, I stand here seriously, full of hope. I used to tell my soldiers, I told my sons and my scouts, hope is not a course of action, but hope is a good thing. As I now kind of like, I was jogging towards the April date. Now I'm running towards that date. And I am full of hope. And I have a renewed commitment to be true to our vital mission. And it's a good year for an incoming chair to take over because this year's a milestone in our church. It's a Jubilee year. It's a time of grace, forgiveness, and renewal. My office is not merely a position. I view it as a call to service, a challenge to nurture the seeds of faith and virtue in the hearts of young people, and hopefully to guide them towards a life of purpose and meaning. We're embarking on this journey together. And I hope that we can draw inspiration from this sacred year. I want to strive to embody the spirit of the Jubilee in everything we do and foster an environment of inclusion, compassion, and reconciliation within not only Catholic Scouting, but our influence in Scouting in general. Because, Scouting at its core is about building character, instilling values, and nurturing young people into responsible and compassionate citizens. It's a movement founded on the timeless principles of duty to God, duty to country, duty to self, and a commitment to helping others. These principles are deeply rooted in our Catholic faith. And they, together with our faith, provide a strong foundation for the moral and ethical development of our youth. As we navigate the challenges of the 21st century, the role of Scouting in the lives of young people becomes even more critical in a world often filled with uncertainty and division. That's an understatement. Scouting offers a beacon of hope, a space where young people can learn to work together, develop their leadership skills, and discover their unique talents. Pope Francis, echoing St. Paul, reminds us that hope does not disappoint. This profound truth should guide every action that we take as we try to provide meaningful and enriching Scouting experiences for all young people. And we need to cultivate an environment of hope within our Scouting units where every young person feels valued, supported, and encouraged to reach their full potential. Our Holy Father has also given us other guidance that has been personally useful to me as we look at what we're doing. And my Latin is horrible. My wife is a Latinist in the house, so I speak Latin with a French accent, not an Italian one, because I studied French and I speak French with an Italian accent. But Laudato Si, he reminds us of our profound responsibility to care for the common home, this magnificent planet. Scouting, with its emphasis on outdoor life and activities and environmental awareness, provides a unique platform for young people where they can develop a deep respect for creation and cultivate a spirit of stewardship. Fratelli Tutti urges us to embrace a culture of encounter, to build bridges of solidarity and fraternity across all boundaries. Scouting, with its diverse membership and global reach, offers a powerful means of fostering that interfaith dialogue, promoting intercultural understanding, and cultivating a spirit of service to others. Christus Vivit is a vibrant message to young people, calls them to embrace the joy of the gospel, to be agents of change, to find meaning and purpose in their lives. Scouting, with its character development, leadership training, and service to others, provides a framework for young people to accomplish these goals and to live out their faith in concrete ways and become the leaders and change makers our world so desperately needs. Finally, the bishop's effort of listen, teach, and send is a powerful call for action within the church that I think is totally related to Scouting. This document, if you have not read it, is the first American church document that I have read that I actually picked it up, started to read it, and read it all the way through the first time, and have gone back twice to read it again. It encourages all of us to listen deeply to what young people have to say and their needs and aspirations, to teach them the truth about the gospel, and to send them forth to share their faith and serve their communities. As members of the NCCS, we are called upon to embody that spirit with wisdom and compassion, and to empower them to become disciples who make a difference. One of the things that we are going to pilot starting this summer is a national youth advisory committee group or something. We don't know what we're going to call it, but we want to get a few of the best and brightest of Catholic scouting young people, and I'm taking from the age of, say, 16 to 24 or 25, to advise us that look like me on what we ought to be trying to do in the realm of Catholic scouting. I'm confident that together, with the grace of God, and I need His grace as I embark on this journey and the dedication of our members, we can continue to build upon the rich legacy of Catholic scouting. As I said, I stand on the shoulders of giants. We can inspire young people to live lives of faith, service, and adventure. We can equip them with the tools they need to become the leaders of tomorrow, leaders who will build a more just, compassionate, and peaceful world. Thank you for all you do. I probably took too much time, but don't ever give me a microphone, Jim. But if there is, I'm willing to answer your questions now or through the entire process. And if I don't have an answer, I know generally where to go get the answer. But that's what I'm looking for our future as a national organization. Anybody have any questions right now? Sir?
Yes. What did NCCS accomplish last year, 2024?
What did we accomplish nationwide? Okay. One, a very good participation with the Eucharistic revival. Not only at the national level in Indianapolis, where we were present in force, but also in a lot of dioceses around the country. We managed to get...
Numbers to support that?
Yes, there are numbers. I don't have those numbers. I don't have those numbers.
What are the goals for 2025? I'm a bottom line person.
Yeah, no, and I fully agree with you. The bottom line is we intend to continue what we're doing. We intend to, at the national level, engage with those organizations that can help us get our leaders in front of kids, because that's our ultimate goal. We have to get people, we have to be more flexible in our approaches of getting to young people. And that is going to be an annual goal.
You commented that NCCS changes will take time.
Mm-hmm.
What's your timetable?
My timetable is for 15 months.
15 months?
That starts in April. It's not starting today. Now, I think we can have the business practices and communications efforts to where you can go and get what you need to know to accomplish your mission. Because our other side of our mission is to create those things that are easily exportable to you, that don't take a document. Our current document that we hand to priests who are interested in starting a Catholic scouting unit is something in the neighborhood of 100 pages. Now, if I handed you a 100-page document, you don't have time to think about it. We're going We have already started to build kits that we can send out to a group in a parish or a group in a Catholic school to start units from a Catholic perspective.
Okay, so it would be pushed down to the diocese, and you would expect the diocese to disseminate the information?
That's the way we're organized to do it, yeah. But we have to get the information to you. Not just park it on a website and say it's there. You know, it's got to be put out in the Scouting Wire. It's got to be put on the website saying, you know, we've created this marketing kit already. The other thing I want to accomplish in the 3 years that I will be the chair, is to reopen communications at the local level with scouting councils. Councils do a very poor job, and I've been a council commissioner, a council executive vice president, a council vice president, of reaching out and following their procedures for engaging chartered organizations. But we on the Catholic side are equally standoffish in many dioceses.
What can we expect from NCCS to help assist us with getting assistance from the local councils to get the word out?
We're creating packages to do that, and we're going to engage scout execs throughout the country. I made a mistake a couple of years ago of accepting a 3-month position that became 5 months of being the interim CEO and COO of the Greater Tampa Bay Area Council. I took a leave of absence from the board and went to work for the BSA. I had been council commissioner. I thought I knew what was going on in the council. I'd been a member of the executive committee since like 2009. The first day I walked into the office, the first email I opened was a DE's resignation. I looked, I asked, I cajoled, I begged, I demanded, show me what you do with chartering organizations. And the answer was nothing. And that's in the top 20 council of the United States. But when I turned and talked to people in NCCS, in the Jewish Committee on Scouting, and other organizations, I found out that we were not making the effort to get that information in front of. We organizationally expected that you guys at the diocesan level were always going to walk over, grab your DE, and tell him all about scouting in a Catholic church, with no materials to do so except a 100-page book. So we've engaged this company that can create these marketing plans and things like that and get it out. Now, what we have to do, and we're going to start selling that at our booth at the national meeting, saying, look to be, you scout exec, look within the next few months of hearing from us at the national level. And we're going to tell you where at your local level you can engage with Catholic Scout leaders in the diocese. Yes, sir.
I appreciate your resonating with the notion of hope in this Jubilee year. And I'm wondering if there is a Jubilee for Scouts taking place in Rome or anything like that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I really don't know. I know that we've created a patch for the Jubilee. You know, we're good at that, creating patches. But that's an interesting, I'll get back to you. That's a real, you know, it doesn't take 2 years to organize something like that, you know. Anybody else? Well, I'm going to be here all day tomorrow. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I say, two things happens in my life all the time. If you ask me to make a decision, I'll make it. If you ask a question, I'll get back to you if I don't have the answer. And I'm looking forward for a good 3 years. You know, I'm going to adopt as my motto for the thing, you know, the hope theme, and keep it going, because the Jubilee lasts all through next year as well. But I'm going to be focused on hope and moving kids forward. Thank you very much.